Thank you very much, Olivier, for version 5.3, and to the best of my knowledge, things will get even better in 2018 as we proceed with version 5.4 and beyond. Every year since I've joined the eSignature building block, which in this case is now for 2018 the second year, I tried to come up with a motto to guide the development of each of our tools in the upcoming year. I did not feel very poetic recently, so I have come up with the not very catchy slogan of summarizing the trusted lists for the upcoming release 5.4. This reflects the fact that we intend to include in release 5.4 functionality for reporting on trusted lists individually, but also all trusted lists together, as well as a list of trusted lists. Functionality to include, to make it possible for you, make it possible for us to generate statistical reports on, as I said, one trusted list, all trusted lists, subset of trusted lists, for example, on how many trust service providers there are in one country, how many of them provide which services, also to be able to generate statistics on how this develops over time. Related, but distinctly, we also intend to include functionality to generate reports on quarterly basis, monthly basis, even weekly basis. These monitoring reports would include information on how many errors or warnings there are on your trusted list, how much availability there has been on your trusted list over the period in question, to make it easier for you to keep track of what's going on with your trusted list. Important as well is our intention to open source TL Manager again. TL Manager was open source in the past, was closed sourced for some time, and if all goes well, but this depends for an important extent to the difficulty of getting the licenses of TL Manager and the Trusted List Conformance Checker to interoperate. But if all goes well, we aim to release version 5.4 of TL Manager again as an open source version. Now, that to some extent is where the roadmap for TL Manager ends. We're at a bit of a crossroads for TL Manager. Beyond 5.4, we have to define exactly what route we want the tool to take. I wanted to present you with some features that we are considering, none of which we have decided upon yet. I would very much encourage you to provide us with feedback on what you think of these features. Perhaps there are features that we have overlooked, which would be interesting to you. The ones I present here are just as an indication. One feature that we have been thinking about for some while is the inclusion of wizards to bring some more automation magic to the TL Manager. In particular, a concern that was brought to our attention was the fact, for example, that the TLSO from Germany often has to, by hand, modify dates in the entries of many trust service providers at the same time, which is quite a hassle to do by hand. And there was the suggestion of creating a wizard to do such repetitive tasks. This is one repetitive task that we have heard of, but if there are other ones that we are overlooking, do let us know so we can take it into consideration. Earlier during this presentation already, during the explanation of the SIE qualification entries, we thought that it could also be interesting to have a wizard to have those set in the correct way, to make it easier for you to do this, and in particular to make it easier to do it without mistakes. Second, we thought of automating more notifications than we do at the moment. At the moment, the notification that we have focused on was the member state notification. We have found that this was quite successful. It makes it a lot easier to do these notifications on both ends, both for you as TLSO, but also for us to process them on our side without mistakes again. But there are many more notifications within the eIDAS framework that could be automated and that could be quite a time saver for all parties involved. Two notifications in particular that we thought of are the notification of the trust service, so from a trust service provider to the supervisory body, and the notification of that trust service from the supervisory body to the TLSO. We could think of providing some sort of tool, not necessarily as part of TL Manager, to allow a trust service provider that notifies a trust service to structure the entry for that trust service so that the TLSO can easily incorporate it in the trusted list. Another example could be the notification of qualified signature seal creation devices. At the moment, these notifications are done in a sort of ad hoc manner through email, and the resulting list of qualified signature or seal creation devices is again published in an ad hoc manner, which means it's not always up to date. This is something we think could be improved through an automated notification. Final suggestion, and again, this is not something that would necessarily, or in fact not very likely, be provided as a feature of TL Manager. It would be something standalone, a platform or tool that would allow you or would allow someone who offers a validation service for electronic signatures or electronic seals to test that the validation is done in conformance with the eIDAS regulation and the relevant standards. A validation service for validation services, if you will. Again, this is just some things we have thought of, but we are very eager to see if you have any feedback on these suggestions, if you have any other features that you would like to propose. And you can do this now. I propose that we move into the question and answer slot, as well as the discussion slot. Let me look at the time and see how much time we have left for this. We have another 43 minutes left for questions and discussion. If you'll excuse us for a minute so that we can see what questions have already been asked. We had a question earlier regarding whether the slides will be made available afterwards, and I can confirm that we will make the slides available, and as well we will publish a recording of the webinar so that any of you who were not able to be here, or any of you who would like to study some of the details more closely, can do so at home. A second question that was asked was whether the alerting emails will be digitally signed. The short answer is that they will not be. Important here, I think, is to distinguish between the electronic signatures in the sense of the eIDAS regulation, that is, electronic signatures with the purpose to sign, are the focus of the eSignature building block. Alerting emails are not contracts. They are not required to be held up legally afterwards. So, in our view, do not require an electronic signature. We encourage you very much, if you have any questions, to post them now. If you have any suggestions for the further development of our building block field manager, to share them with us. I hope I've answered the 2 questions that we've had so far. Thank you, Mr. Palmer, for the follow-up. Again, the alerts in question are they're informative emails, so we do not feel that there is a security concern of them somehow being an imposter sending out alerts on our behalf. In any case, a trusted list scheme operator who receives these alerts would verify for themselves that the problem in question is in fact a problem on their trusted list. I hope that answers your question, Mr. Palmer. If we do not have any further questions, then I guess school is out early today. Just to see if there's any more questions, I guess I'll be going once, going twice, and then I'll close hereby the question and answers section of the meeting. If you have any questions later, any feedback, you are of course always welcome to email us. If you would like to find any more information on the eSignature building block, on the other building blocks, you can visit the website. It's also through the website, through the TLSO community, that we will publish after this meeting the slides, as well as the recording of the webinar. And then all that is left for me is to thank you for attending. It's a pleasure to maintain together with you the European Union's trust backbone, and to thank all of those who were here with me today. The Oliviers, Carlos, behind the scenes, working with us were Nicolas, Pierrick, Gregory, as well as Gianmarco. Thank you all for being here today, and I wish you all a very pleasant evening.